What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to the channel. ExileCon 2023 is here, and with it comes some fresh new info on Path of Exile 2. Let's run through their opening keynote address and go over some of the details. To start things off, Grinding Gear Games announced that Path of Exile 2 will be its own separate game. It will not be an expansion running side by side with Path of Exile, and will be its own independent entity.
The PoE 2 scope has continued to grow and grow, and it's far more than just an expansion with a new campaign. It has entirely new monsters, skills, mechanics, classes, everything you'd expect from the next generation of action RPGs. Not to mention revamps of most of the PoE 1 League content. This thing is just freaking huge. There was a point when we realized that our plan to replace PoE 1 with PoE 2 would essentially be getting rid of a game that people love for no real reason. So we made a decision. Path of Exile 1 and 2 will be separate with their own mechanics, balance, endgames, and leagues. But it's still a shared platform. Your microtransactions are available across both games. Everything you have ever purchased or will ever purchase in the future will be usable in both games unless it's hyper-specific to the content of one of them. You can't transform into a bear in PoE 1, so a reskin of your bear form isn't going to work. But you absolutely can equip the awesome armor set that you got and use all your stash tabs. So with that in mind, we'd love to show you a live demo of some of the stuff we've been working on.
Next up, they showed off a new trailer, which is focused on showing all of the individual classes and just some overall trailer hottage for Path of Exile 2.
This world will be reborn, no matter the cost.
Then they discussed a new hybrid type feature that involves weapon swapping and tying weapons to individual skills and individual skill tree passives.
Well, in PoE 2 we have another major new system to introduce to solve these kinds of problems. And it starts, oddly enough, with weapon swap. Now, in PoE 1, weapon swap isn't really used much for its originally intended purpose. We imagine that people were going to be swapping in and out between different weapons to deal with whatever situation they were in. People just don't do that at all. And a large reason for that is because it's really, really awkward. In PoE 2, we wanted to solve all of that. The staff Octavian is using here has an ice mod on it that makes it great for when he's using his ice spells. But we would also like to be able to make sure that this build works just as well for his lightning spells. If Octavian equips his previous staff in his second weapon set, you can see that it appears on the character's back. Now, we're going to open up the skill screen. If Octavian opens the skill options for his lightning skills, you can see here that you can choose which weapon sets are usable with each skill. First, we uncheck set 1 from being used by his lightning skills. Then we go through the cold skills and turn those off with his lightning weapon. Just take a second.
If I can remember where they all are.
Yeah. Now, When we use Spark, the character will automatically switch to the lightning staff on his back and then use the skill. And when Octavian uses his Ice Nova, his character automatically switches to his Ice Staff before using it. But we still have a problem. Passives. Wouldn't it be nice if we could specialize in both cold and lightning passives on the character? Well, in PoE 2 you can. We're on the passive skill screen here, and you can see that we are close to both a cold and a lightning cluster. At the top right of the screen, you can see that we have some weapon set specific points to allocate. If Octavian holds shift, he can allocate set 1 to the cold passives, and then allocate set 2 to the lightning passives. Now, check it out. As we use our weapon swap, the skills allocate changes from one build to the other automatically. So whenever we cast the appropriate spell, the character's passives reconfigure on the fly to the correct build for that spell. Now you can't do this with every single passive on your tree. Only points granted from skill books will allow this kind of dual specialization. So you're not going to be changing from a mace slamming warrior into a fire elementalist with the press of a button. But it certainly increases the number of options you have for builds. There's a huge number of places where the system can shine. You can augment your dagger shadow build with traps, or have a great curse set up on your witch with one spec and then move to your chaos debuff spells with the other, for example. It really opens up your options.
Bust out your copium pipes and get to smoking, because the launch date appears to be a little further off than most people anticipated.
So your next question is likely to be, when is the beta? Well, we're in our last year of development, but we're still finishing acts, adding skills and balancing everything. The closed beta is going to start on June 7th, 2024. Path of Exile 2 has been a long time coming, and we're incredibly excited to be near the finish line, but we're just not quite there yet. We're determined not to rush this and make sure we get everything right.
And since Path of Exile 2 is going to be its own standalone game, leagues for Path of Exile will continue on. So of course it is time for a fresh one, and we got some news on that.
Speaking of Path of Exile 1 expansions, we've got one coming out in just 3 weeks, on August 18th. Let's watch the trailer for Path of Exile: Trial of the Ancestors.
Souls such as yours do not go quietly into the night. They thirst for battle. They yearn to prove themselves. Welcome to the halls of the dead. Earn your place among us. Under Hinikora's watchful eye, test your mettle against the greatest warriors who ever lived. Prove yourself in the trial of the ancestor. In the end, only one can become champion. Will it be you?
Now, Chris did go much more in-depth about what's to come with this upcoming league for PoE, and it looks pretty darn interesting. If you want to check out the full enchilada, there will be a post linked down below to the full livestream VOD. But that will do it for now. Thanks a ton for watching, and I will see you soon.